Hey there! Hey there, I'm Charlotte with Colorful Teaching for You, and today we are going to be looking at how we can set boundaries as teachers so that we can feel some sense of work-life balance. Now, work-life balance is going to look very different from one teacher to the next. What works for me is probably not going to work for you, but it may. And so let's look at different things that we can do so that we can implement work-life balance. So as teachers, you know that we give so much of ourselves all of the time to a point where many of us are starting to feel drained of energy and just even our social, emotional health is just suffering. Now with the pandemic, that's getting even more difficult for many of us. If you're a homeschooling parent, I'm sure you're feeling the same thing. So if the things that we're going to talk about today will probably apply to you as well. Okay? Now, one of the things that I like to do is I like to look at how I can care for myself. And if we do not do that, if we don't implement that, one of the things that's going to happen is we are going to feel like one of those cups where we drink so much out of it to a point where there's nothing there. And I don't want that for you. So we're going to look at how to set boundaries so that you can eventually take care of yourself, feel better about yourself, and actually enjoy the teaching process, because I know that if you're here, you are an excellent teacher. And we do not want to lose you as a teacher, so let's really focus on how we can implement this. Today's episode is sponsored by my the Colorful Teaching Club that's starting up. And if you like what we talk about today, we're going to take certain topics like today and really hone in on those topics. So what I mean by that is, while I'm talking to you right now, we actually do a hands-on approach. So if you were part of the masterclass, then you would know that we really go into a lot of depth where I actually show you how to do it step by step. And I do it with you, alongside you. So, and if you want to be a part of that free masterclass, the link is associated with this video. But for right now, what I would like you to do is really get right into those steps. The first step is to plan ahead. And when I talk about planning ahead, I'm not talking about planning, for the day. I'm looking at planning a week ahead at the minimum. So notice the word minimum here. So at least plan for the week. And when you plan for the week, I also want you to think about photocopying and printing everything that you need for the week. And the reason for that is you might become sick. Your children might get sick. Things come up, and one of the things that stresses a lot of us out, and used to stress me out to no end, was if this happens, I need to plan for a TOC. And to get up in the morning when you're not feeling well, your child's not feeling well, is really difficult. So if you plan for a week ahead, if you need to make any changes, it's quick, right? And that's what we're looking for, being able to plan well in advance. Now, if you don't know how to do that, or if you haven't been able to do that, the free workshop I talked about is what's going to help you, because we actually look at that in detail, and I give you templates along with examples for you to work through. Now the next step is to limit your time. And what I mean by that is look at how much time you need to work at the beginning of the day and how much time you need to work at the end of the day. I'm not a morning person, so 40 minutes of work at the beginning of the day is all I'm going to get done. I'm not getting up any earlier. So that's all I'm going to work on. And then at the very end of my working day, or at the end of the school day, 1 to 2 hours maximum is what I go for. Now, is that always going to be consistent? Absolutely not. Because sometimes things get in the way, right? You might need to talk to a parent, or you might have a meeting, or in my case tomorrow, I've got to go into school because it's Saturday, but my kids are receiving the sacrament of reconciliation. So things get in the way. But for the most part, we don't want to make it a habit of working too much, otherwise it is going to stress you out. So figure out how much time you need to work before school and after school, and then that's your cutoff. Okay? Now I only do 2 hours at the maximum at the end of the day because I want to spend time with my baby, and I'm not introverted or extroverted, I'm both, so I need time to just be by myself as well at the end of the day. So figure out what works for you. What's your beginning and end time? This might swap, or you might want to work more at the beginning and less at the end. Totally up to you. But keep that deadline, and for the most part, stick to it. It gets easier over time. And the way to do this is the third step, prioritize your time. And the way I like to do it is I like to take a piece of paper, I divide it into 3 columns. What needs to be done now, what needs to be done later, and what can I delegate. Now, I do this on Monday because I like to have it already out and done, but then I add to this list as things come up. So what is the most immediate thing that needs to be done right now? Because if I don't do it, all hell's going to break loose. That goes in the now column. What can be done later? That I schedule in after, depending on when that needs to be done. I schedule it a little bit in advance so that I'm not stressed out at the beginning, at the very end. And then what can I delegate? As teachers, we like to do everything. But can your children help you? Absolutely. Can a parent come in? Right now might be a little tricky because of COVID, but when this doesn't exist, can a parent help you? Yes. Because I remember when I was helping out with Missions Club, oh goodness, I did everything by myself and I just burned out really fast. I counted all of the money that was coming in for different organizations. And then I was also planning and I was trying to help my students and it just didn't work. So I started getting parents to come in and help out. I started getting parents to also help out with working with my children one-on-one to guide them with reading and all of those other things. It can be done. And that frees up your time so that you can also spend time with other children that needs your support. And you can, at that point, remember I said limit your time, it can help you leave earlier. So all 3 things can be done. But I don't want you to do all 3 things, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. I want to recap really quickly so we're not completely lost here. We talked about the importance of, or the relevance of setting boundaries. We've also looked at 3 actionable steps: plan ahead, limit your time, and prioritize your time. Now, like I said, I don't want you to do every single thing right away. It is too much. So work on one thing and really just hone in on that. And when you get the hang of it, build in the next and then build in the one after. So I would love for you to start with prioritizing your time first. Figuring out what needs to get done right now. That means if it doesn't get done, everything's going to fall apart. Then breaking it down to later and delegating. Once you get the hang of it, then maybe that'll start to free up your time. That's when you start to work at, can I limit my time here? And then you can start to plan ahead. So you might work, in this case, you're working backwards, aren't you? But it's not always perfect, so you might kind of juggle around. Whatever works for your schedule. Now, like I mentioned, if you do want to get in and work on the free, with me on that free master